My friend, let me ask you a question that may shake you to your core. What are you holding on to so tightly that God can no longer move freely in your life? What have you gripped with such anxious fingers that your own hands have become the very chains around your soul? You see, we live in a world where everyone wants control. Control over their finances, control over relationships, control over health, time, outcomes, and even the future itself. But I stand before you today to declare a truth that can set your spirit on fire. The moment you let go of control is the moment you make room for God to move. Many of us cry out in prayer asking God, "Where are you?" But deep inside, we are unwilling to surrender the steering wheel. We ask for peace, but refuse to give up the anxiety. We beg for direction, but ignore the quiet pull to let go. We want miracles on our terms. We want breakthroughs without breaking. We want to see the mighty hand of God, but only if it moves where we want it to go. But listen to me, God does not respond to control. He responds to surrender. The most powerful move you can make today is not in doing more, fixing more, or fighting harder. It is in unclenching your fists and saying, "God, I release it to you." Let go of the battle you've been trying to win alone. Let go of the fear that's been whispering lies to your heart. Let go of the burden you've carried for far too long. Let go of the illusion that you are in control. Because the truth is, you're not. You never were. And that's not weakness. That's wisdom. That is power. That is faith. Some of you are trying to control how people treat you. You're trying to fix broken relationships, to make people love you who were never meant to stay. And every time you try harder, it slips further away. Every time you manipulate outcomes, peace disappears. You can cry, beg, plead, explain, but if God has closed that door, no amount of control will open it again. God does not work through desperation. He works through trust. You're not responsible for how others receive you. You are responsible for how you respond to God. Control is the language of fear, but surrender is the language of faith, and faith is the only language heaven listens to. When you are trying to control everything, you are essentially saying to God, "I don't trust you." But when you release it, when you lay it down, you are shouting to the heavens, "I believe you even when I don't understand you. I trust you even when I can't trace you. I submit to you even when it hurts." That is the heart that moves God. I know what you're thinking, but what if everything falls apart? Let me tell you, sometimes things have to fall apart so God can put them back together the right way. Sometimes letting go of what you think is best is the only way God can give you what is truly right. You may lose what you wanted, but you will gain what you needed. God never asks you to let go unless He has something greater to replace it with. But He won't force it into your hands. You have to release what you're holding first. Too many are trying to fight battles God never asked them to fight. You're worn out, burnt out, and spiritually dried out. You think you're being responsible, but really, you're carrying weight you were never meant to bear. You confused worry for wisdom, fear for foresight, and control for protection. But the Spirit of God is calling you right now, let go. Trust the one who holds the stars in place. Trust the one who never sleeps nor slumbers. Trust the one who formed you in your mother's womb and has counted every tear you've cried in secret. The reason some of you are not seeing the movement of God is not because He's not working, but because your grip is too tight. You've locked Him out by locking yourself in. The miracle is not delayed, it's waiting for your surrender. The answer is not far, it's on the other side of your release. You've been asking, why won't God fix this? But maybe the real question is, why won't I let Him? He is not a God who works according to your calendar. He is not bound by your deadlines. He doesn't rush just because you panic. He moves according to divine timing, not emotional urgency. And oh, when God moves, when He finally moves, it is not subtle, it is not weak, it is not partial. When God moves, mountains tremble. When God moves, storms are silenced. When God moves, doors swing wide open that no man can shut. But He does not move at the voice of control. He moves at the sound of surrender. Your breakthrough isn't blocked by the devil. It's often blocked by your pride. Let go, child of God. Let go, not because you've lost, but because that's the only way to truly win. Don't confuse surrender with failure. Surrender is not giving up, it's giving over. It's saying, God, I don't want to be in charge anymore. I'm not capable of carrying this burden, guiding this ship, or fixing this mess, but you are. That's not weakness, that's worship. That's not quitting, that's spiritual wisdom. That's not defeat, that's the beginning of divine direction. It is in the emptying of self that we become filled with power. God moves in the spaces we surrender. He enters the room we vacate. He heals the wounds we stop hiding. But if you're still trying to make everything perfect in your own power, you'll miss the glory of what God can do with a mess fully placed in His hands. It's not about how strong your grip is. It's about how deep your trust is. You don't need to know how it will all unfold. You just need to know the one who holds it all. I speak to the one who's tired. You've tried everything. You've begged, fought, sacrificed, and still see no change. And now fear creeps in like a shadow, telling you that if you don't keep it all together, everything will collapse. But let me tell you, sometimes collapse is grace in disguise. Sometimes God allows things to fall apart so you'll stop building idols and start building trust. He doesn't want your strategy, He wants your surrender. This world teaches you to seize control, to hustle, to grasp, to plan every detail, but the kingdom of God operates differently. In God's kingdom, the most powerful thing you can do is fall to your knees, not because you're broken, but because you know where your strength truly comes from. God does not need your control, He desires your heart. That is where His movement begins. You cannot be the architect of your own peace. You cannot be the captain of your own destiny. God is the beginning and the end. He writes the story. And the chapters you're trying to rewrite with fear are already written with purpose. Every delay has meaning. Every no is a setup for a greater yes. Every closed door is a redirection, not a rejection. But you'll only see this when you stop striving and start trusting. Faith is not just believing God can, it's surrendering even if He doesn't. It's praising Him even when you don't understand. It's saying, I trust you even in silence. I trust you even in the waiting. I trust you when everything in me wants to fix it myself. And that is when the heavens respond. That is when the atmosphere shifts. That is when God begins to move in ways you couldn't even imagine. Letting go doesn't mean life will instantly make sense. It means you stop needing it to. It means you trade anxiety for assurance, striving for stillness, panic for peace. It means you stop asking, what if, and start saying, even if. Even if it doesn't look the way I planned, even if the door remains shut, even if I never understand, I will still trust that God is working. I will still believe that His ways are higher. You are not abandoned, you are not forgotten, you are not overlooked, but God cannot bless the version of you that clings to control. He blesses the one who says, here I am, take it all. He blesses the one who kneels in tears and says, I don't know what tomorrow holds, but I know who holds tomorrow. That is the faith that moves mountains. That is the spirit that unleashes miracles. And I ask you, what would your life look like if you truly let go? What burdens would lift? What miracles would rush in? What peace would fill your soul if right now you simply opened your hands and said, God, I release it all. That's not the end of the fight. It's the beginning of your freedom. God is not waiting for you to figure it all out. He's waiting for you to let go. And when you do, when you truly do, you will see Him move like never before. Not because you earned it, not because you controlled the outcome, but because you finally made room for His glory to show up. His movement begins where your control ends. You don't have to carry it all. You don't have to solve it all. You don't have to be the hero of your story. Let go. Let go and watch what God will do. Let go and witness the heavens open. Let go and feel the chains break. Let go and hear the still, small voice that's been drowned out by your own plans. Because when you do, something holy happens. Something divine takes place. God steps in. And now I say to you, with the authority of truth and the weight of heaven, if you want to see transformation, if you truly desire divine intervention, then release the reins of your life and hand them fully to God. Stop walking through firestorms trying to control the wind. Stop clenching your heart trying to manipulate outcomes. When will you realize that your strength is not in holding everything together, but in surrendering to the one who holds it? You may think letting go means things will fall apart, but listen carefully. Sometimes things have to fall apart before they can fall into place. Some of you are praying for restoration, but God is still waiting for submission. You're pleading for breakthroughs, but still clinging to your way, your vision, your version of the outcome. You see, God will never compete with your control. He will wait until your heart is fully yielded, and then, only then, He will pour out what no plan of man could ever produce. Let go of your need to understand everything before you trust anything. This is where most stumble. They want signs before surrender. They want guarantees before obedience. But God doesn't work that way. He calls you into the deep while the shore is still visible behind you. He whispers, "Step out," before there's even a road beneath your feet. Why? Because faith is not faith if it comes with certainty. Faith is proven in the unknown. It is demonstrated in the moment you say, "God, I do not see the way, but I know you are the way." Let me speak directly to the one whose nights are sleepless, whose mind is tormented by what-ifs and maybes. You are mentally exhausted from trying to anticipate every outcome, fix every problem before it arises, control every variable. That is not wisdom, that is torment. It is a prison disguised as responsibility. It is a subtle lie from the enemy that says, if you just try harder, maybe everything will stay safe. But there is no safety outside of surrender. There is no peace in prediction, only in the providence of God. You must understand, the foundation of real power is not found in controlling people, money, or situations. It is found in being anchored so deeply in God that the winds of life no longer shake you. And the only way to be anchored is to let go of everything else that competes for that place. Pride cannot anchor you. Plans cannot anchor you. People cannot anchor you. God alone must be your anchor. And to take hold of Him fully, you must loosen your grip on everything else. Don't just release the outcome, release the timeline. God is not slow. God is not late. He is exact. He is precise. The delay you see is not divine negligence. It is divine perfection. There is something He is shaping in the delay, something He is growing in your waiting. The fire you are in is not meant to destroy you. It's meant to purify your trust. Every second of waiting is heaven's invitation to go deeper in faith. But you can't walk deeper if you're still tied to the surface of your own expectations. You want God to move? Then move out of His way. Some of you have been praying for God's will, but all the while demanding your own way. You've been standing at the altar of prayer while secretly bowing to the idol of control. But those two cannot exist in the same heart. You must choose. Either you trust God's plan or you insist on your own. And let me assure you, only one of those leads to peace. Only one of those unlocks the power of the unseen hand of God. Your control is not protecting you, it's limiting you. It's closing the windows heaven wants to open. It's caging the wind that God wants to blow across your life. You think your grip is keeping things from falling apart, but it's really keeping them from falling into place. Sometimes the best thing you can do for your life, your family, your future, is to stop holding it hostage to your fear. God can do more in a moment of surrender than you can do in a lifetime of striving. Now listen, this is not a call to laziness. This is not about folding your hands and refusing to act. No, surrender is not inactivity, it is divine alignment. When you surrender, you don't stop moving. You move with God. You move when He leads. You speak when He gives the words. You act when He opens the door. That is where the power lies. Not in forcing outcomes, but in flowing with divine timing. That is how you rise above human limits, by aligning your steps with the one who has no limits. Many are afraid to let go because they don't want to lose control. But my friend, that control you're afraid to lose was never yours to begin with. You didn't control the day you were born, and you won't control the moment you leave this world. And everything in between is held by God. The sooner you understand that, the sooner your heart will know rest. The kind of rest that no success can give and no failure can steal. Some of you are still waiting for everything to be safe before you surrender. But safety is not the absence of storms, it is the presence of God in the midst of them. Do not wait for the storm to pass before you surrender. Surrender in the storm. That is where your soul learns to stand, not on the ground of human understanding, but on the rock of divine promise. I speak to those building their futures like towers of glass, carefully, nervously, trying to stack every piece just right. And yet one gust of life's wind brings it all crashing down. That's not how God wants you to live. That's not what He designed you for. He didn't form you from dust just to live in fear of falling. He formed you to walk in faith. And faith doesn't build with glass, it builds with stone. It lays a foundation in the eternal, not the fragile. And that kind of foundation only comes from surrender. Let go of the fear that if you stop controlling, everything will crumble. It is not your hands that hold your life together, it is God's. And He does not fumble, He does not forget, He does not fail. He is not limited by your past, your present, or your perceived problems. What you see as impossible is merely a breath to God. But He waits, not for your help, but for your humility. Don't just let go of situations. Let go of how you think they should turn out. That is where the deepest surrender happens. When you say, God, even if you take me a different way, I will go. Even if you lead me through fire, I will follow. Even if I never understand, I will still trust you. That is the language of the surrender. That is the heart that attracts miracles. And I declare to you today, the moment you stop chasing control, you will start experiencing peace. A peace that is not logical. A peace that does not come from things going your way, but from knowing God is in the way, clearing it, shaping it, and guiding it for your good. That peace is available now. Not tomorrow, not when everything makes sense, but right now. And all it takes is this. Lay it down. Speak it out. Declare with your whole heart, God, I let go, you lead. If you do this, not just with your mouth, but with your heart, you will see a shift. You will feel it in your soul. The anxiety will lift. The tension will ease. Not because life suddenly got easy, but because you are no longer carrying it alone. You will find strength in your weakness, clarity in your chaos, calm in the middle of your storm. Because when you let go, God moves. He moves in quiet whispers that steady your heart. He moves in divine interruptions that protect you from unseen harm. He moves in silence and He moves in fire. He moves when you least expect it and in ways you could never imagine. But He does not move while you're still trying to play God. That space belongs to Him alone. So make a choice, right here, right now. Choose to stop resisting. Choose to stop explaining. Choose to stop doubting. Choose to stop being your own God. Choose surrender. And when you do, you will not just feel God. You will see God. You will see Him in the small things. You will see Him in the delays that became deliverance. You will see Him in the silence that protected your spirit. You will see Him because you finally gave Him room to be seen. Let go. Let go, not just with your hands, but with your soul. Trust the one who wrote your story before you ever took your first breath. Trust the one who parts seas, who calms winds, who lifts valleys, who exalts the humble. Trust the one who doesn't need your control to accomplish His will. He needs your surrender. And if you give Him that, if you truly give Him that, you will not only watch God move, you will move with Him into places your control could never have taken you. And I say this now with the full weight of conviction in my heart. True freedom does not begin when everything is under your control. True freedom begins the moment you place everything under God's authority. That's when the chains fall off. That's when the heart starts to breathe again. You were not created to be the master of your own destiny. You were created to walk in step with the Almighty, the one who knows the end from the beginning and the path from. Control is the silent enemy of faith. It doesn't scream, it whispers. It disguises itself as wisdom, as caution, as logic. It makes you believe that your plans are safer than God's. But let me tell you, there is no safety outside of God's will. There is no protection in your own understanding. Your wisdom is limited, but God's knowledge is limitless. Your insight is clouded, but God's vision is perfect. What you call control is often a mask for mistrust. And mistrust is not harmless. It's a barrier that blocks the miraculous. You're not failing because life is hard. You're failing because you're fighting God's hands. You're resisting the very hands that formed you. The hands that can build what you're trying to build faster, better, and stronger. But He will not wrestle you for control. He will wait for you to yield. And in that yielding, a new kind of strength is born, the kind that no storm can shake and no devil can undo. But strength doesn't come from controlling the outcome. It comes from trusting the one who controls everything. Stop praying for peace while holding on to the chaos. You cannot carry both. Let go of the burden you were never designed to carry. Some of you are tired because you're playing God in situations where only God has the power to fix, heal, restore, or redeem, and you wonder why the weight keeps getting heavier. It's because God is letting you feel the burden of trying to play a role that was never yours. Not to punish you, but to awaken you, to call you back into position, not as the controller of outcomes, but as the vessel of faith. Let go of your need for immediate answers. Some of you are paralyzed by questions. You won't move until you know everything, see everything, understand everything. But God never promised clarity, He promised presence. He never said you'd always know the why. He said trust in the midst of the unknown. And that trust, that deep and raw reliance on Him, is what releases the divine flow of His power into your life. You don't need more information, you need more submission. That's where the breakthrough comes. I speak to those who feel like they're in a wilderness. Nothing around you makes sense. Every direction feels blocked. You're crying out for guidance, yet all you hear is silence. But the silence of God does not mean the absence of God. Sometimes The silence is the stillness before the shift, and that shift often requires a sacrifice. The sacrifice of control. The surrender of your plan so that God's plan can unfold. Don't despise the silence. Don't fear the wilderness. Let go and let God speak in ways you've never heard before. Do you know what trust looks like in its purest form? It looks like peace, when nothing around you gives you reason to be calm. It looks like standing still while everyone else is running in panic. It looks like choosing to be planted instead of pulled. And that only comes when you've released control. When your heart stops wrestling and starts resting in the knowledge that God is sovereign, completely, eternally, unfailingly sovereign. So many people think they're walking in faith, but they're really walking in fear with a spiritual mask. They've disguised anxiety as diligence. They've confused panic with passion. But God is not looking for frantic energy. He's looking for faithful surrender. He's not asking you to do more. He's asking you to believe deeper, to let go not just with your hands, but with your heart, to stop holding on to things you can't fix and start holding on to the promise that God will not fail you. Let go of your attachment to timing. There is a divine rhythm to God's plan, and your timeline is not the blueprint. You're not late, you're not behind, you're not forgotten, you're being prepared, but preparation requires pruning, and pruning requires surrender. If God is cutting something away, let it go. If He's asking you to pause, trust the process. If He's redirecting your steps, it's because He sees what you cannot see. And what He sees is always for your good, even when it feels like loss. Some of you are holding on to wounds, past betrayals, past failures, past regrets, and you convinced yourself that control is the only way to protect yourself from being hurt again. But in doing so, you've built walls that not only keep pain out, they keep God out too. You've armored your heart, but in the process you've silenced the healing. Let go of the past. Let go of the narrative that says, I must protect myself. No, you must be protected by God. Only He can guard your heart without hardening it. Only He can heal the wound without scarring your spirit. Letting go is not passive. It's the most courageous act of obedience you will ever commit to. It is bold. It is fierce. It is loud in the spiritual realm. When you let go of what you thought you needed, heaven leans in. When you release your plan, angels move into motion. When you say, God, I'm done trying to be in control, you are not defeated. You are being elevated. What's waiting on the other side of your surrender is greater than anything your control could have built. There's peace waiting for you. There's clarity waiting for you. There's strength, power, and divine favor waiting for you. But it's not coming through your planning. It's coming through your posture. And the posture that invites the greatest power is the posture of open hands and bowed hearts. Let go, not just because you're tired of fighting. Let go because there is a better way. God's way is not predictable, but it is perfect. It is not always painless, but it is always purposeful. And every time you release something from your hand, He replaces it with something your heart truly needs. What you thought was a loss becomes a gift. What you thought was an end becomes a beginning. But you will never know this unless you step out of control and into faith. This is the moment. Not tomorrow, not next year, right now. There is power in the present when it is placed in the hands of God. Don't wait for your situation to change to trust Him. Trust Him and watch your situation change. Not always in the way you expect, but always in the way that glorifies His greatness and perfect wisdom. God doesn't want your performance. He wants your permission to move. And He is standing ready to act, to shift, to pour out, if you would only let go. And I tell you now, there comes a point in your spiritual journey when holding on becomes more dangerous than letting go. When trying to fix, force, or control becomes a burden too heavy for your soul. You weren't created to be your own provider, your own protector, your own savior. That role belongs to God alone. He who fashioned you in secret knows what you need more than you know what to ask, but you cannot receive from a hand that remains closed. You cannot be filled while still grasping at empty solutions. There's a reason the blessings haven't flowed yet. There's a reason peace has not settled in your spirit, because control has become the idol of your heart. It's sitting on the throne where only God belongs. And idols never deliver what they promise. They deceive, they drain, they destroy. But the moment you dethrone, control, and exalt God, that's the moment things begin to shift. That's when prayers start moving mountains and peace flows like a river through the storm. You must decide today, will you continue building with bricks made of fear, or will you build with faith anchored in God? Faith does not need every detail spelled out. Faith does not need a forecast. Faith says, even if the way is dark, I know God is guiding me. That kind of faith cannot grow in a heart addicted to control. You must break that addiction. You must detox your soul from the illusion that you're holding everything together. The truth is, God is the one sustaining your breath, your heartbeat, your tomorrow. And when you truly understand that, the fear begins to lose its power. God is not waiting for you to impress Him with your strategies. He's waiting for you to invite Him into the very places you've tried to manage alone. The lonely rooms, the broken dreams, the decisions that haunt you at night, the relationships you're trying so hard to fix. Let Him in, not as a consultant, not as a backup plan, but as the sovereign guide of your every step. He doesn't want partial trust. He wants full authority. He doesn't want you to simply acknowledge Him. He wants you to surrender to Him. And that surrender is not weakness, it is strength in its purest form. It is the boldness to say, God, I trust your plan even when I don't see the blueprint. I believe in your wisdom even when mine has run dry. I lean on your understanding because mine has led me to dead ends. That kind of surrender releases spiritual power. It's not loud, but it echoes through eternity. It's not dramatic, but it tears down strongholds. Because where there is true surrender, there is true access to the power of God. Stop living like everything depends on you. That is a heavy yoke you were never meant to carry. That weight has worn you down emotionally, mentally, spiritually. You've been pushing, striving, calculating, but you've forgotten the most powerful thing you can do is fall on your knees and say, God, I release it to you. And when you do that, not with hesitation, but with holy conviction, you unleash something that no effort of yours could ever produce. Letting go doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you care enough to trust that God knows better, that His hand will lead you places your own planning never could, that His timing, though often mysterious, is always perfect. You see, the same God who orchestrates the movement of the planets is orchestrating your life. He is not random. He is not reactionary. He is precise. And you have not been forgotten. You have been positioned for something far greater than what your hands could ever build. Let go of the fear of failure. Some of you are still trying to control every decision because you're terrified of making the wrong one. But fear will never lead you into divine purpose, only faith will. Trust that even if you take a step and stumble, God will catch you. He will redirect you. He will use your mistake as material for your growth. What you see as deter, He sees as development. What you call a delay, He calls preparation. Let go of your need to be understood. Some of you are bound by the opinions of others. You're adjusting your direction, changing your language, hiding your faith just to keep people pleased. But let me tell you, control built on human approval will always crumble. You are not here to be understood by everyone. You are here to be obedient to God. And obedience will often make you look foolish before it makes you fruitful. Do not fear rejection, fear resisting the one who calls you. Do not chase applause, chase alignment with the will of God. Let go of your past. Some of you are not controlling the future. You're being controlled by yesterday. Regret has become your companion. You replay old scenes, old words, old failures. And because of that, you are afraid to trust God with your next step. But God does not live in your past. He lives in your purpose. And He has the power to redeem, restore, and repurpose everything you've been through. Nothing you've gone through is wasted when surrendered to God. He turns ashes into strength. He turns scars into wisdom. But He cannot use what you won't release. Let go of your self-reliance. The world may applaud independence, but God calls you into dependency. Dependency not on people, not on systems, but on Him alone. He is your source, your provision, your protector, your defender, your wisdom. Everything you are looking for in all the wrong places can be found in Him. But to receive it, you must stop depending on yourself. Your greatest enemy in this hour is not the outside world. It's the inner voice that says, I've got this. No, you don't. But God does. And He's waiting for you to stop trying to play God and start trusting the only true God. Let go of your limited expectations. Some of you are only trusting God as far as your logic can stretch. But God is not limited to your imagination. What He has prepared for you is far beyond what your mind can conceive. He's not just preparing blessings that match your dreams. He's preparing ones that surpass them. But He will not pour out abundance into a heart that only trusts partially. You must let go of the box you've put Him in. You must allow Him to be as great as He truly is. Not just with your words, but with your surrender. And let go of the clock. You've been looking at the hour, the calendar, the season, wondering why it hasn't happened yet. But God is not a prisoner of time. He operates in the fullness of seasons, not seconds. And sometimes He waits until every other door has shut, so that when He opens His door, you will know without a doubt, this was God and God alone. Don't measure God's faithfulness by your schedule. You measure it by His nature. He is never early, never late. He is always right on time. You see, the beauty of surrender is not just that it brings peace, it is that it brings alignment. When you let go, you align your life with a force far greater than yourself. You become a vessel, not a controller, a channel, not a dam. And through that vessel, God flows. He flows with wisdom. He flows with provision. He flows with protection. And He flows with direction that no map or plan could provide. Letting go is not the end of control. It is the beginning of divine movement. And when you finally release it all, when you stop reaching and start resting, when you stop fighting and start flowing, you will watch God move in a way you never thought possible. Not because He wasn't willing before, but because now you are ready. Ready to trust, ready to believe, ready to walk not by sight but by surrender. Let every fiber of your being hear this truth. The reason the weight feels so unbearable is because you are trying to carry what only God was meant to hold. You are not created to be all-knowing, all-powerful, or in control of every outcome. That is not your role. That is God's, and the longer you insist on carrying what belongs to Him, the more exhausted your soul will become. It is not noble to suffer under a load you were never assigned. It is not brave to pretend you are fine while breaking on the inside. Real strength is not in holding it together. It is in handing it over. You don't need to figure out every answer. You don't need to solve every equation. God never called you to be the source. He called you to trust the source. And when you trust fully, you stop panicking over the unknown and begin living in the peace of what is eternally known, that God is in control, that He is near, that He is sovereign, and that He is working even in the silence.